Welcome, everybody, to our first official Monday night sales call of the year.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Bobby. I think we've got some special guests on here tonight. If you haven't already, I recommend everybody grab a pen, a paper. You're going to want to take some bullet points down. This call tonight, we're going to be going over the polished pitch of Texit Coin and the way that we should be presenting it out there to everybody. And so we've got our founder and fearless leader on here. We've got Bobby, and I think we've got Jennifer and Jason Hommel on here as well. But as we got some more people joining on here, take some time, like I said, grab a pen, paper, get ready to take some notes. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you, and don't be afraid to drop your questions in the Q&A or the chat. I'll be here to type back and answer any stuff like that, as well as Bobby's going to be answering some questions as well. So, Bobby, do you want to start?
Yeah, man, I'm here. And thanks for having me on your sales call. I'm trying not to hijack too many calls this week, but we've got a lot to talk about. It's all hands on deck for us over here. You got to know that we're sitting here, we're at the helm, we're in control, we're doing what leaders have to do, which is lead in good times and bad, and tough times and easy times. You know, the moment that we start falling asleep at the wheel is the moment that we end up. We wake up, we look around, we go, how did we get here? This is so strange. It was all going so good. But we've got a lot to talk about. And so thanks, Gaige, for letting me hijack your call. I appreciate that. Gaige said that we've got a polished pitch. I don't know. Polished is a little bit lavish with your praise there. We'll see how it goes. But what we're working on is a conversation that we can have with people that invites them into our world, our community, but takes a little bit of the focus off of some things that are under fire right now. And the things that are under fire are crypto in general. I mean, if you think about where Bitcoin is today at 89, 92,000 bucks, it's off quite a bit from its high. What did we hit? 125 with Bitcoin? Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
So 125,000, 89 over 129,000 is a 30% drop in the world's largest digital asset. A multi-trillion-dollar asset is down about 30% right now from its high. And a lot of people are pissed off at crypto. And a lot of people are sitting there saying, darn, I really shouldn't have bought in when it was 125,000. I wish I got in at 20,000 or 10,000 or 3,000 or $5. And so, look, crypto's under fire. Texit Coin is under fire. And so we've got to have a conversation that we can bring to the community that's going to get someone to listen against, the storm that we might be facing right now. And that's what we've come up with. We've come up with kind of a bulletproof thing to talk about. And we watched a few moments ago, depending on when you joined, maybe you caught it, but we watched a real quick video about the history of money and how we ended up where we are today with what we call fractional reserve banking. And fractional reserve banking is the idea that if you take your money down to the bank and you deposit it, they're then allowed to lend out 9 times as much of that. That's how fractional banking works. So forget about the fact that the Federal Reserve cooked up this money out of thin air, gave it to us, government $37 trillion in debt to whom? We're not really sure. But we start there and we say, okay, like, how does banking work? How does money work? And this is what I dealt with years ago when I was out there, with my silver and copper coins trying to get people to barter. I had to teach these people about the history of money for them to understand why I wasn't some nutcase with a tinfoil hat on, walking around and asking them to take silver, gold, and copper coins as a form of payment at the local store. And it was a lot of work. But the work was important because it really gave people a deep understanding and structure as to how we got to where we are today. Now, when I did that back in 2008, 2009, 2010, You know, the dollar had lost 95% of its purchasing power. We've lost another 3, 4, 5% since then, or more. You know, I don't know how you want to rank it, but the dollar's lost like 99% of its purchasing power over the last 113 years. Now here we are in 2026. So there's a lot that goes into it. There are books you can read, there are videos you can watch. You know, if you want to get a deep understanding of the history of money, there are places you can go. But what I want you to get from this phone call, from the Zoom call, is enough to get people's attention to honest money. So we've got dishonest money and we've got honest money. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Remember, this week we're going to go through all of these things, all of these fundamentals that that contribute towards our successful community growth. And so we're going to dive into that here in just the next few moments. I asked Jason Hommel to jump in because part of what lit the fire in my heart about what we're talking about today is an article and a series of articles, but one in particular stood out that was written in 2008, or maybe earlier. The version that I'm looking at online right now says June 5th, 2008, written by Jason Hommel, who was the foremost expert back in the day about silver as money and monetary policy and the economics of the silver industry, the small cap miners of the world that were pulling the raw materials out of the ground. He can tell you more about himself in a moment than I can. Jason, are you out there? I think he's out there. I can't see him, but I think he's there. There he is.
Hey, Bobby, I'm here. Thank you. What a
Hey.
wonderful introduction.
And you even dressed up.
I
But
know, right?
it's not your turn yet. I just wanted to say hello to you.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know.
wanted to
Just want to
kinda-
let you know I'm here.
Well,
Okay.
here's where I want to start. And guys, feel free to jump in, correct me if I'm wrong, compliment, you know, the different things that I'm mentioning. If you've got more resources and specific facts and knowledge that I've got. But I've got this 1, 2, 3 pitch. I've got this 1, 2, 3 pitch. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. And it goes like this. The future of money is digital. Point number one. And if you remember this from, you know, the very early video that I put out introducing people to Texit Coin, I said, if there's any one thing that I want you to believe, I want to sell you, is the idea that unless the lights go out, unless the zombies take over and we're back to bartering in the streets once again with, you know, these coins, that the future of money is going to be digital. Now, I'm going to run through this agenda real quick, Jason, because I didn't give you much of a heads up on this. I just said, are you around tonight? We're getting on a call. Let's go. So number one, the future of money is digital. Number two, crypto is good, honest money. Number three, Texit Coin is good crypto. That's the pitch. That's the whole thing. And I really like this pitch, not only because it's simple, it's 1, 2, 3, but because it's a really great way for us to start to engage the community of cryptocurrency enthusiasts out there. If you start talking to the crypto bros and you go, yo, we've got this coin, it's kind of like an MLM, but it's not really, and blah, 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 they're going to put up a brick wall because they've seen it before and it didn't work out well the last time. Now, it's not the only thing that hasn't worked out well in crypto. There are exchanges that have failed. Mt. Gox back in 2013, 2014, FTX just a couple of years ago. So we have to have a message that we can bring to the cryptocurrency community that they're going to be willing to consider. And that's point three. Point two is that crypto, and this is why Jason's here, because he's gonna really challenge me on this one, and he's gonna give you some contrasting ideas. Because when I met Jason again, after a very long hiatus, it took me a long while to win him over to my way of thinking. And I don't think he's there all the way. We'll let him speak for himself in just a moment. Maybe he's gotten there. But again, point number two is that crypto is good money. Okay, so the 3 points. The future of money is digital. Crypto is good, honest money. Texit Coin is good crypto. That's what I want to cover on tonight's call. That's our quick pitch. And the reason that it's so important is because if I'm right, and we're going to go through it, try to win you over to my way of thinking. But if I'm right, this gives you a bulletproof way of communicating what we're doing with the world, whether that's with your neighbor, the guy next door, or that's with the online community of friends, family, relatives, coworkers, trolls, or if it's the crypto bros. It gives us a bulletproof, warm way of engaging them. And I call it bulletproof because nobody that you come across, unless they're Keynesian economic professors, are going to argue that dishonest, fake fiat money is the way to go. And so let's break it down. Let's begin with point number one. The future of money is digital. Jason, you know a whole lot more than I do about the history of money. Let's talk real quick about money over the years. I give the simple example about an ounce of gold back in ancient Rome, but there's been a lot of different types of money over the years. Any type of money or monetary systems that you can think of that have stood out over the years besides silver, gold, copper coins?
Almost all been gold and silver throughout most of history. And, even in Roman times, the empire collapsed in part due to debasement of the currency. I mean, people have all their
Tell me
theories,
what
but
debasement is. What is debasement of the currency?
the government began issuing silver coins and gold coins with less and less real metal in them and more fake base metals, adulterating or mixing the coins with dross, so to speak, that made them worth less and less over time. It was their way of creating inflation and spending more money that they couldn't receive from taxation. It's what the empire did when it was dying, and we're doing the same thing.
And then you also have people that got clever about the edges of the coins to debase them as well, right?
Right. So there was coin clipping and coin shaving, and so
Just
they
shaving
created
off the
the
edges. So they put those
the
lines on
ridges.
the edges of the coins, the ridges, the reading, whatever you want to call it, so that you could tell if somebody had shaved off, some part of that metal. So, so I think it's important to mention that since the beginning of time, people have been trying to cheat you. Whether they're trying to tell you that your Chase account has been hacked and you need to call this number right now to save your account, or they're trimming off the edge of your coin, or they're mixing some sort of metallurgical alloy that's less than pure or less than the globally accepted standard. The battle between good and evil, the battle between the people that want to work for their money and their wealth and the people that want to steal it from someone else has existed for thousands of years.
There's always cheating and theft. There's no getting around it. Except, but that's the greatest thing about crypto is that it prevents theft in probably the strongest way that we've ever encountered. And to answer your other question, I think I have leaned more in favor of cryptocurrency than even gold and silver in a lot of ways,
Gaige was in my
because it's
office a
just
minute
better.
ago, and he told me that this coin is probably a tenth of an ounce underweight. It should be 31.1 grams. His theory is that it's 28 grams.
Wow.
I would need a scale and a specific gravity test to tell it. But let's talk real quick about how we got to this place where we are with money becoming digital. Gold and silver worked for thousands of years. We had barter currencies, we have tally sticks. Every community came up with something that worked well for them. Wampum or chickens and eggs and barter. And then all of a sudden, society became more advanced, civilization expanded, and we see the entrance of the goldsmith. And we watched a little bit of a cartoon video. Have you ever seen that video before?
I've never seen that particular one. That was interesting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and they all came out about that same time, 2006, 2007, 2008, when we're all seeing the same problem. Something's wrong with money. It's not going to end well. And so, the gold and silver are really inconvenient when it comes to global trade. If you're carrying around a treasure chest full of, gold and silver coins, you've got some serious, weight problems and some risk. And so it makes sense to take that back to the guy in town and hand him your silver coins and get in exchange for it a warehouse receipt. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of, kind of the paper money that we know and love today, it really started out more as a warehouse receipt. So you take your silver coin down, you drop it off, and you got this receipt that says by bearer on demand, I can always swap this $1 bill out for that ounce of silver. And that's where we evolved a little bit, or devolved a little bit, became faster and more convenient, but then you open up that opportunity for even easier fraud. If you got to get creative in the early days of debasing metals and shaving off the edges of them to steal money, now all of a sudden you're giving your money to some guy and crossing your fingers and hoping that he does a good job holding on to it. But this is when we see the birth of fractional banking. And fractional banking goes, hey, I've got all these dollars here. I can lend some out to people. Not everyone's going to come to redeem their dollars in silver at the same time. So I can lend out kind of like 2 to 1, or 3 to 1, or 4 to 1, or 5 to 1, or 10 to 1. And what they're doing now is they're taking 1 ounce of silver, they're turning it into 9 ounces of paper silver out there in the marketplace, and then they're collecting interest on 9 ounces of silver as if they had 9 ounces of silver in the first place. Do you have any idea, either one of you guys, about how much debt we have compared to the actual amount of currency that we have?
It's something like around, say, $40 trillion on maybe 5 to 7 trillion worth of currency. They stopped publishing M3 10, 15 years ago, so we couldn't track the expansion of the money supply. So it's very interesting. Yet the government collects in taxes almost 7 trillion a year, so they're almost collecting in taxes the same amount of money,
All
the
the
paper
money.
money that's in the entire money
I'll take
supply.
all of that.
It's a form of debt slavery that's impossible to get out of unless we default on the debt or print more money. It's
So
a
what we're
severely
saying
broken system.
is, if every man and woman in the United States took all of their dollars and they paid off all their student loans, their car payments, their credit cards, their mortgages, if we took all of our money and paid off as much debt as we could, we'd come up 35, 40, 45 trillion dollars short.
It's probably worse than that. Home loans are huge. So the housing market is a separate category of other debt on top of the, money supply debt. It's weird and it's hard to calculate.
As money moved from this inconvenient gold and silver coinage to this, reserve banking system, I see this as being this opening wedge of large scale deceit, where now all of a sudden the money supply can get manipulated. Eventually, we got rid of that link as well. We got rid of the whole, well, our money's backed up by silver. Well, our money's backed up by gold. There were a couple important dates across, the last 100 and something years where we saw those changes taking place as well. So let's jump forward a little bit. We see, FDIC come out. When did that come out? In like 1933 or something? Banking
Oh, I'm
insurance.
not exactly sure. Maybe in the 40s or something. Who knows?
So
Yeah, right after the 30s. Yeah, in the 30s, because the banks were failing and they had to prevent the banks failing. So they created the insurance backup.
So they can guarantee that the bank will have your money, but they can't guarantee what the money is actually worth. That's really where we started to run afoul. Okay, fast forward. Now, all of a sudden, we live in 2026 and we're using this stuff to tap to pay. We've got elastic money. We've got Venmo, we got Zelle, we got Cash App, we got PayPal. Money today is digital. And they're not even worried anymore about having this stuff to, back up the currency that's out there. I understand maybe we did an audit of Fort Knox at some point recently.
I don't think that they have yet still. They keep talking about it, but no, nothing's ever been released.
They were supposed to do it, but why do they want to know? Because when you have fake money, you can make as much of it as you want. Why would you want to have transparency? Why would you want to have accountability? If you're dreaming up money out of thin air and lending it out to your bros, what upside do you have to create a more honest and accountable monetary system? There really isn't any. And so we've watched money become progressively more digital over the years. And my belief is that migration towards this digitized money gives them less and less of an opportunity or incentive to go back to this stuff. When money is zeros and ones, it's not even paper anymore. I mean, you've probably walked into a store that says, we don't accept cash. When money is just zeros and ones, you can make it up all day long out of thin air. And I would like you to believe that that's dishonest money. Any money that can be artificially created, artificially and arbitrarily dreamt up, given out to whomever is in control of the printing press wants to give it out to, we've got a problem. We've got dishonest money. We've got fiat money, money that only has value because Big Brother says it's worth something. And as they inflate it bigger and bigger and bigger, and there are more and more and more and more of those dollars out there, driving the prices up through inflation, driving down the value of the dollars that you and I have in our pockets, that's a problem. And so what we're seeing is this interesting thing where money over time is becoming more digital, but, and I would love to hear your theory on why. What happened for this to show up? Because we just talked about how as money becomes more digitized, it becomes more fraudulent. But then all of a sudden, Bitcoin shows up. Do we have any theories on how and why Bitcoin showed up? This Satoshi Nakamoto, this shadowy figure, is it a person? Is it a guy? Is it a girl? Is it a group of hackers and frackers? Is it a government organization? Is it a rogue CIA agent that decided that they had some sort of great technology that the world needed to know about? What's the theory on
I have a
Satoshi
theory.
Nakamoto? Let's hear the
I
theory.
have a theory, but you know, I wrote the Silver Stock Report in 2008, and in 2008, that article that you read that sort of inspired Texit Coin and
We're going
talked
to
about
get
the
there
properties
next.
of money.
Yep.
I was actually asked to write that article by people who were creating a digital currency because I wanted to make sure that their digital currency had all the properties of money. And I didn't like their idea of making a digital currency, but I liked the idea of at least exploring all the properties of silver, which made it the best money. So I wrote the article, and in that article, I had a little line in there that said, and money should not require electricity to use. And that was my sort of like a my nod to saying, yeah, okay, I get you guys are trying to ask me this, but at the same time, I was answering and saying, you know, your digital currency experiment is not really going to work.
Not gonna
But I
work.
failed to understand that even gold mining, of course, requires energy and oil just to mine it out of the ground. And in fact, my latest research tells me that the gold market and Bitcoin use roughly the same amount of energy every year. It's about half of
Yeah.
1% to sustain the entire gold market's mining supply as well as keeping Bitcoin going. And I found that very interesting.
That's really interesting, man, because, first of all, it takes a lot of courage and reflection to be willing to go back on some of the things that you once, held near and dear. And that was an important process for me that took the better part of a dozen years to remove the blinders and consider this digital money. But to look at it from an energy consumption perspective is really powerful. Gold and silver, they use energy too. I used massive amounts of energy in my factory to make the silver coins that I manufactured. I mean, I've got some of the ones that I made with my own hands right here on my desk. Bars and rounds and all kinds of stuff. And so it's a massive consumer of energy. And that's a really important, powerful thing that we're going to get more into in just a moment. So point number one, and give me a agree or disagree. I like it or I don't like it. But point number one is that the future of money is digital. And we've seen that happen even outside of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We've seen, debit cards, check cards in the early 90s, debit cards before that, and just paper checks. You write a check, it, gets sent through the, what is it? The check systems, the something, something, something. I don't remember what it was. Then there was the ACH, the automated clearinghouse system. And so money has been working its way towards digital. And I think the overlords really like that because the less tangible the money is, the more easily it can be manipulated.
I totally agree with you that our paper money system is almost entirely digital. For almost the past 30 years, it's been 99% digital. surprisingly enough. I mean, very little is actually traded based on paper, and they want to get away from paper and remove the paper anchors as quickly as possible. There's, of course, reluctance to give that up because sometimes the machines break, and people don't like being told, we don't take cash. But there are increasingly number of businesses right here in Dallas that some coffee shops, they just won't take cash. And it's frustrating, it's awful, but what are you going to do?
I bought
Fine. I will
$10,000 of
either tap to
Texas
pay or go
Roadhouse gift
somewhere
cards,
else.
and I
Yeah.
paid for them all in cash.
Uh,
So we've got plenty of Texas Roadhouse gift cards to give out. That was our way of doing a sponsorship. If you get gift cards, they'll put your advertisement up on TV. So if you go into the Texas Roadhouse at El Dorado and 75 in McKinney, it's all Texit Coin. And I know it because I've got the gift cards here that paid for all of it. So money has been getting more and more digital over the years. I believe that the overlords like that because digital, for the most part, and that's where we get this tiny asterisk there with cryptocurrency. I believe that digital money becomes easier to manipulate than the old-fashioned stuff was. You got to have this. And look, you and I are probably paying a little bit of attention to what's happening in the silver market right now as well, with silver going on a wild run. New technologies for batteries are coming out. They're talking about COMEX not having enough silver to satisfy the demand. The price has doubled in the last couple months. So, it's hard to manipulate real tangible stuff. But then Bitcoin came out. Then Bitcoin showed up, and I don't think that most of the people in crypto today paid attention to it for this reason. But in the early days, there were a lot of people that looked at Bitcoin as a real, honest monetary solution that gave us a level of transparency, accountability, honesty in money that we've never seen before. And that took me a long time to realize. And you, even with all your knowledge and scholarly research abilities, even longer.
That's right. Even longer.
Because you were around this stuff at the early days as well.
That's right.
You were writing articles about silver because guys wanted to cook up digital coins. So we've been around this stuff for a very long time. And so I would like you to believe that crypto is good, honest money.
I do.
And the
I
way
believe it.
that I'd like to convince you of that is by drawing your attention to an article that you wrote. Do you remember exactly when you wrote it? Because my computer tells me it was June 5th, 2008, but that probably is not the right date. That's probably the republication date.
That's the publication date, but I may have had an earlier version of that article somewhere else at an earlier date.
And that's not the only thing you wrote. Tell us about your work in the newsletter space, what you were talking about. Just give us a quick overview of the background of what you were doing back in those days.
I was afraid of runaway inflation back when there was only, $4 trillion in the system back in the early 2000s. Now we're up to, the
10 times that?
20. Well, yeah, it depends on how you measure, whether you're measuring M2, M3, or all the bank
Oh,
loans
sorry.
out
I thought you
there.
were talking about debt.
Well, the amount of money in the system was like 4 trillion, and now it's probably 40 trillion. So it's 10 times more. But if you include all the debt for housing, I mean, it could double that. Or if you include all the derivatives, then you're in the multiple quadrillions. And it's really difficult. What are you supposed to count, really?
Yeah.
They say that even the silver market is now paper leveraged up to 200 times, maybe 300 times. It could be even 1,000 times or more if you consider that all the paper dollars everywhere are all theoretically a claim on silver because anybody who has any money at all could buy silver if they wanted to.
Right.
So the amount that, in the video that we start out, well, the banking system has made 9 times more money than the gold they have. It's really maybe even 1,000 times more silver than the silver that they have. So in the long run, if inflation hits, the value of silver can go so much higher than we can predict. It's scary.
Tell me specifically about the education work that you were doing back then. And what is it that drove you to putting the time and effort and research into sharing this great information with your community?
I knew that the paper money system was a fraudulent system, and I thought it was probably the most important thing in the world to focus my time and attention on to save as many lives as possible, surprisingly enough, because, when inflation hits, it impoverishes an entire nation. An entire nation's economy can go under. And then you have things like mass starvation or populations turning on themselves. And we've seen it in various countries around the world. Venezuela did not do very well when communism took root there. Ton of people were able to flee. What would happen if the United States' currency went down? History is History is any guide, it can be absolutely devastating. Populations can get cut in half, cut in two-thirds. It's just mass starvation and death could be the result of currency systems failing. And so I wanted to encourage people to, buy silver and gold to protect themselves from inflation and to sort of decentralize ownership. When the gold is all owned by just the United States government, that can be very dangerous. It needs to be distributed among the people so that people can protect themselves. I really wanted to be able to, create a mass movement of people protecting themselves from inflation before it was too late. And I failed to be able to do that. I was never able to grow my reach
I don't think
organically.
you failed. I got to stop you right
All
there.
right, all right, all right. I reached like 80,000 people.
You got me.
I
And
did.
together with our work, we've gotten about 55,000 people.
That's right.
They're sharing this story a whole different way to a
That's
whole
right.
group of people. I said a couple nights ago or a couple days ago on a call about, when I first realized at a barbecue meetup months ago, how it felt for people to be as passionate about honest money and sharing this important story, as I felt. So we're lighting fires inside of hearts. Ron Paul lit the fire inside of my heart for this stuff. I connected with great information from you. And so it is wrong for us to think that we can't do anything. Are we superheroes? Can we fly up and take out all the bad guys and save the day and we all live happily ever after? Of course not. And I think that's fantastical thinking anyway. There's always been this battle for thousands of years between good and evil. And so, look, we're not here to end all poverty. We're not here to stop all wars, but we're here to do what we believe is right. My version of that is so that I can leave the world a little bit of a better place for my children. Then I've got to light that same passion in their hearts so that they leave it a little bit better for their children. And on and on and on and it goes as we pay it forward. But for you to think that you were not successful in your mission is completely wrong, because I came across this article and this was my Bible. The four fundamentals of the silver price. I'll scroll down, I'll skip all the introductory things, but there's a lot of stuff in here. You used to do a lot of writing for this Bible prophecy thing as well. There's so much great stuff. I wish you could dig up all of your old archives and articles, get them republished. Maybe you've already done that. But people today do not know what money is. I've struggled to define it over several years. Some say what you spend is money, or that you buy things with money, or that currency is money. Others say the dollar must be defined as a certain amount of silver, as in the Constitution or Coinage Act. But you go through here and you lay out these important things: to be a medium of exchange, to be a unit of account, and to be a store of value. Now, you've got this fourth thing here, which is really cool, because whenever I tell this story, I don't really talk much about this last part. But this is one of the things that cryptocurrency gives us. In fact, Texit Coin's got something built into it called Mimble Wimble. It was an upgrade that Charlie Lee did when he was developing Litecoin that gave you the ability to have a new address generated every time you receive a transaction. Maybe you've gone into your TXC wallet, you copy your address, and you're like, wait, that's not the same address. And you panic and you go, my address is different. I just gave it out to somebody, but now it's different. The money's not going to get to me. No, 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 no. That's a privacy feature that's built into Texit Coin so that people can't always go and look exactly at your wallet and see exactly what's in there. It's a very powerful feature. And it's built into TXC and it's in the article that you wrote. But I want to take a moment and I want to just dive into these things. I got the author, the original author with us here on the call. to give us a little bit more background and understanding, but let's go through them all one by one. Good money, anything that is money. To function as money, a monetary item should possess a number of features. To be a medium of exchange, it should have liquidity, be easily tradable with a low spread between the prices to buy and sell. In other words, a low transaction cost. It should be easily transportable. Precious metals have a high value to weight ratio. This is why oil, coal, and water are not suitable as money, even though they are valuable. It should be durable. Gold or silver coins are often mixed with copper to improve durability, and coins made with ridges around the rim prevent shaving and debasement. So let's talk about medium of exchange real quick, because it's an important function of good money. You have to be able to trade it. You got to be able to take it to the marketplace and drop it off. If you're carrying out your side of beef, to the market to barter, well, it's valuable and you might be able to trade it. And I'm sure somebody else is going to really want that side of beef, but it's not a really great medium of exchange. Land, property, houses, all valuable, not a medium of exchange. Any other classic examples that you can think of, things that are terrible money because they can't be easily transported or
There are, and they're listed in the next steps in the article. Diamonds and works of art. They don't have the fungibility, so they don't work. Because I mean, even though they're portable, they have the high value to the weight, but they don't have the simultaneous property of being fungible. So it's almost like that. All of the properties of money have to be present simultaneously. It works together, sort of a synergy effect, which is something I sort of learned in my rediscovery when I reinvestigated Bitcoin and Bitcoin's properties of money, which are actually far superior and
Well,
better.
let's pause there.
Okay.
Let's talk about silver, because you and
Sure.
I both for a very long time would
We're
have
both
fought to
silver
the
bucks.
death
Yes.
to convince people that silver was not just good money, but it was the best money.
That's right.
You can pass it to someone. It's anonymous. You can easily transport it. I mean, today it's $70, 65, $70, $75 a coin now. I mean, so we've got a lot of value right here in our hand. Gold even more so. You got $4,300 in a coin that's smaller than this coin. And
It's
so,
funny, silver was always the workhorse money. It always did more monetary functions than gold did, which usually sat in vaults and for
right.
kings, because when you make a gold coin small as, like, say, a sovereign, a British sovereign, you can't really make it smaller than that. Otherwise, it slips through your hands too
Right.
easily. But even a sovereign is like a month's wage. And so
Yeah.
you just can't use it for things. You can't
Yeah.
use it to
Try
buy groceries.
going down
It's too
with an ounce of
valuable.
gold to buy a
That's
pack
the
of bubble
trouble.
gum. It
So
doesn't work.
silver or silver dimes were the workhorse money. A silver dime could buy you a meal. But then you have to fractionalize that even further. So enter copper coins to make that
Yeah.
work for really small. It's very interesting.
So I
Silver almost did the
remember
bulk of money.
an old saying, gold is the money of kings, silver is the money of gentlemen, copper was the money of the marketplace, and debt is the money of slaves.
Slaves. That's right. That's
Love
right.
it. All right, so we agree that silver is a good medium of exchange, but let's talk real quick about crypto. Because I give the example, I say, look, when we're thinking about medium of exchange, I can send crypto from here to the other side of the world and back in seconds. If I want to send a silver coin to the other side of the world, man, it's work. I got to pack it, I got to insure it, I got to ship it, I got to get it through customs somewhere. I got to hope that some enterprising young mailman didn't rip the heavy package open and take the contents out, as has happened many, many, many times. And so here I am. I got my gold and silver blinders on, but here I am looking at crypto and I'm saying maybe crypto might just be a better medium of exchange. What do you think?
I look at my investigation of Bitcoin since I've been in the TEXITcoin project over the last year. I just see that Bitcoin has about 24 properties of money at least now that are all superior to gold. And that was very surprising to me, being a former silver and gold bug, to realize how much better Bitcoin is. I had no idea in the beginning. Oh boy, did it just passed me by. But, I had to look into these things a little bit more to, continue being the expert. Knowledge is power, and so forth.
Let's
But
move
I
on.
was very, very surprised about that.
It has to be good money, good, honest money. Has to be a unit of account. It should be divisible into small units without destroying its value. Precious metals can be coined from bars or melted down into bars, again, with a very low percentage cost. This is why leather or live animals are not suitable as money. It should be fungible. That is, one unit or piece must be equivalent to another, which is why diamonds and works of art or real estate are not suitable as money, just like you said. It must be a specific weight or a measure or a size to be verifiably countable. You must be able to weigh and measure and count your unit of account. That makes perfect sense to me. And again, looking at silver coins, that's what has made them such a good form of money. You know, with silver, you can even hear that ring. Does that ring come over on your side?
We can't hear it.
No. When I take my silver coins and I like drop them together in my hand, I can tell just from the sound if I've got a coin that's not pure silver. I've been messing around with this stuff for a very long time, but this is a good form of money. Money that you can easily count. You can put it on a scale and you can weigh it. Now, let's be fair and honest. If I handed you this silver coin, do you think with all of your years of experience in the silver industry that you could definitively tell me that it was 999.9% fine silver? 100% sure. Could you be sure?
It doesn't work that way. It's easier to tell that gold is real, but only if it's in the form of a gold eagle. Gold bars are a little bit harder. And, when I was a bullion dealer, I bought $1,400 worth of fake Mexican silver coins that were adulterated with, I don't know, lead or whatever. The
A
refiner wouldn't take them.
professional, an expert, you bought it.
I was
you
an
do?
expert in the subject for 10 years before I became a bullion dealer, or maybe 16 years,
What did you
10
do?
years, 10 years. The refiner gave them back to me. I took the loss. So there was nothing I could do,
Yeah.
but it's just
Now,
live
when
and
I was
learn.
manufacturing silver coins, as you were as well, if I wanted to take 1,000-ounce Comex good delivery bar, I had to put it in my grain maker to turn it into little casting grain pebbles. And then I put it in my continuous caster and I cast that long bar. And then I got to roll that long bar out into a perfect strip that was 0.105 inches thick. And then I had to punch my blanks out of that thin strip. And I had to rim those. I had to burnish them and polish them, take off all the rough spots, and then finally, once I verified that they're exactly the right weight and not under and not too far over, what was your tolerance when you were making silver coins? Like what were you trying to hit? Because 31.1 was the minimum. We never sold an underweight coin. I was always at 31.1 on the bottom. I was shooting for 31.3, 31.5 if I was like under the gun and had a deadline to hit.
We only made 5,000 coins, and our tolerance was around 1%.
Okay. So we
So,
have to
yeah, same
put a
thing.
day's work in to take this big 1,000-ounce bar and turn it into a 1,001-ounce round. And like you mentioned a few minutes ago, which most people unfairly forget to remember, you're using a ton of energy. I mean, part of the reason I got into this project is because I had just built myself a building. I had just put in big 480 volt power three-phase to be able to power these ovens and these motors and all this stuff. You're using a massive amount of energy. But if I want to send out commission, $480,000 of commission or 1.2 or $1.6 million of commission on a Wednesday afternoon, I click, 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 and that crypto gets divided up almost instantly. I think the transaction cost is $2.40 to take millions of dollars of crypto and shatter it into thousands of pieces and pay out all the people that are due their money. I mean, as far as a unit of account is concerned, it's nearly flawless. I can't send you a fake USDC. It would never show up in your Coinbase account. It's impossible for me to counterfeit Bitcoin. If I tried to send you a fake Bitcoin, it would never get to your wallet. If I tried to send you a fake Texit Coin, it would never arrive. I believe, and let me know where I'm wrong, that cryptocurrency, Texit Coin, is a perfect unit of account.
You're not wrong.
So let's move on to the last one. This is where I got stuck for a long time. I got stuck on the last one to be a store of value. It should be long lasting, durable. It must not be perishable or subject to decay. This is why food items, expensive spices, or even fine silks or oriental rugs are not generally suitable as money. It should have a stable value. It should be difficult to counterfeit, with the genuine always being easily recognizable. That's where I got stuck.
Well, with Bitcoin is actually, I would say, impossible to counterfeit, whereas gold and silver are relatively easy to counterfeit. In fact, I was a bullion dealer, just like you. I was put out of business by a counterfeit bullion dealer in my hometown. I never bought any of his stuff, but he was selling copper bars that were gold plated. He was selling them for 2% over spot. I was selling real gold bars, and I had to buy them at 1% over spot. I marked them up 3%, sold them at 4% over. So the whole town eventually looked at me as the scam artist because my price was too high. So my whole business volume went to him, and I went out of business. And then about 6 months later, after I went out of business, he gets pinched for counterfeiting and goes to jail for 10 years. You can look it up. Gold, counterfeit gold, Grass Valley, California. The internet articles are there. The point is,
It sets the record
counterfeiting is a
straight, but it doesn't make you
serious
feel any better.
no, but counterfeiting is a serious problem in the gold market,
Sure.
and Bitcoin solved that problem. That's really kind of an amazing thing.
It really is. Well, I didn't understand the value thing for a long time because, first of all, when Bitcoin first came out and when I found out about it, was about 4 years. Bitcoin came out in like 2009. I got into it in like 2012. And so you don't have a long enough timeline in there to really definitively know for sure that something is going to be around long enough to hold on to its value. And it's very volatile, so the price is up and down. It takes about a generation. It takes about a generation for something to stick around long enough for people to actually take it seriously. Think about it. Why do we take the dollar seriously? We all know it's paper. But we were born into it. It's been around for generations. Our parents used it, our grandparents used it. And so as this thing gets passed along through the generations, it becomes more trustworthy over time, even though the value is consistently going down. And we can see that right in front of our eyes. I mean, it doesn't take like a scholarly expert to go to the store today and see that the price of eggs or milk is double what it was 4 or 5 years ago. And so when something is new, it's easy and it's understandable to question its ability to be a good store of value.
Well, I missed it right there. Exactly that. Because I didn't think that Bitcoin could be a store of value. I didn't think that there was any merit to the scarcity argument because I thought, well, anybody can make another Bitcoin. And so therefore, there's no true scarcity. Forgetting the fact that we have alternate current paper money currencies around the world. And if the Mexican peso is a bad paper money currency, it not only takes nothing away from the dollar, but actually encourages people to hold more dollars. And I think it's the same way with cryptocurrencies. People prefer to have the best one. So really, Bitcoin's has stayed at the top, and it's really been quite surprising how it has worked that way.
Well, here's another thing to consider about it as well with the question of store of value. Currency gets its value from being spendable, from being tradable. When there's a marketplace of people out there that are willing to accept it and trade it for goods and services, it becomes more and more valuable. The dollar is valuable because you can walk down to the store and you can buy a tank of gas with it right now. And so that's why it's so important for us to build and grow our community, because the more people that are participating in our community with our alternative complementary currency, the more value it has. That's what we talk about with Metcalfe's law, where every new participant makes our currency exponentially more usable. And that's an important thing. But here's the thing that I finally realized. While we're sitting here screaming into the storm that gold and silver are the way to go, the crypto bros got linked in with, the banks and created these, on-ramps and off-ramps so that you can tap your crypto to pay at 54 million businesses all over the world. And so for me, store of value doesn't necessarily mean intrinsically valuable. It doesn't mean physical. It doesn't mean tangible. It means that I can use it to get what I want. And I can tap this card right now to buy a tank of gas. I can tap this card right now to buy groceries at the store. And so if I prefer Bitcoin or USDC, if I decide for myself that those things are more honest and trustworthy than, this thing is, this gives me access. This gives me accessibility. This gives me utility. This gives me the ability to connect my store of value with the things that are actually really valuable. Food, clothing, gasoline, energy, the electric bill. Heck, there are websites out there now where you can pay your mortgage. We got a Strike account set up, gives you a routing and account number, pay any bill anytime, done. Instantly. It's pretty convenient. And so I look at this and I say, that guy Jason's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's well researched, he's well respected. And I believe that what he wrote defines good money. And we didn't have Bitcoin back when you wrote this. You know, Bitcoin white paper was published in 2008. The first block of Bitcoin was mined January of 2009.
That's right.
So you wrote this article based on the best tools and knowledge you had at the time. Of all the things that we had access to, you looked at those things and you said, this is good, honest money. And you were 100% right. But
Thanks, Bobby. I put a lot of research into that article.
fast forward a couple of years, we've now had more than a dozen years to stop hating on digital crypto and to consider what it really gives us. And like you just said, there are 22, 23, 24 other
24.
good properties that crypto has.
That's right. I've written an article that says that Bitcoin has 24 monetary properties that are superior to gold. And some of them aren't just a little bit better, but rather they do things that gold couldn't possibly do, which is really, gosh, what you say, like call it infinitely better? It's
Yeah.
infinitely more portable. It's infinitely lighter in weight. You know, and why is gold more valuable than silver? Because gold is more valuable. It sounds like it's a circular argument, but it's more valuable because it's more valuable by weight, which gives it more portability. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so here we are, years later. You found out. What year did you find out about Bitcoin?
Uh, Probably, you know, the next year, 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Almost probably be a
So
year after it came out.
I reached out to you in 2024 and I said, hey, man, are you still alive? Are you still out there? Are you still thinking? Are you still breathing? Did you get into Bitcoin? Did you get into crypto? No. Would you give it another shot if I told you about something that takes all the things that I learned from you and built them into what I believe is the best cryptocurrency on planet Earth today?
Well, I did.
I invited you to come for the journey, and here we are with Texit Coin. So number one, guys, the future of money is digital. I think we all see it. I think we've all watched that progression over time. Number two, I want you to believe that cryptocurrency is good money. If you go through this scholarly article that was researched and written over years of fundamental, deep understanding of the monetary properties that make good money, I want you to understand that those properties exist today in cryptocurrency.
In some of them, not all of them. You know,
Not all of
Bitcoin's
them.
one of the best. Texit Coin is right in there, but some of them have unlimited issuance. So they're
Correct.
just absolutely awful scam currencies just because it's like we can't say crypto has certain properties because it's really only, you know, Bitcoin, Texit Coin, and some of the good ones.
Right.
You know, perhaps Ethereum stands as one of the good ones. But you know, the point is, I think a lot of the cryptos are scam. We can't say that crypto in general is a scam or crypto in general is great. Crypto is sort of uh, the word is too big. It's like business. You can't say all businesses are scams. You can't say all businesses are great. Some are scams, some are great. Some cryptos are scams, some cryptos are great. So I think it's
I would
important to
like you
differentiate.
to believe, and I would like our crypto friends to believe, and I would like our friends on Facebook and social media to believe that Texit Coin is good crypto. When I finally saw the writing on the wall, I put my building and my factory and all my machinery up for sale. I said, I'm out. I'm getting into crypto. Which one? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin? Which one? Which one am I going to throw my hat in the ring for? I researched them. I came to conclude that almost all of them were now once again either controlled by big banks, hedge funds, institutions, or foreign nations. And I just had a conversation with somebody earlier today about it when I reached out to a friend that's been around this stuff for a long time. Said, I'm starting Texit Coin. Why? We don't need that. We've got Litecoin. Well, we have Litecoin, but Litecoin really doesn't have any leadership. You know, I know the guys that run the Litecoin Foundation. I've partied with them in Singapore. You know, they're kind of there, but they're not like charting the course for Litecoin to be used as a monetary system. It's just one of the other speculative digital assets that's out there. If I'm going to get into crypto, why not start fresh? Why not start with a blank slate? Why not start and take all the same hardware, the same cooling infrastructure, the best of the best technology, and build it right here in Texas? We've got everything we need here. We've got abundant, inexpensive energy. We've got land. We've got resources. We've got a pro-business climate. We've got this can-do Texas, independent attitude. We've got everything we need right here to start fresh. Texit Coin built itself on top of the Litecoin technology. I looked at the fastest ones that were out there, reliable, simple. So we're starting there. But let's not fork it, which is what the other guys do. Let's clone it. Let's start with a blank slate and let's set one rule. We're going to exclusively build the digital currency mining infrastructure that we need to create our digital currency in Texas. And it's not going to be funded by the rich guy. It's not going to be funded by a bank. I'm not getting a loan. There's no SBA. There's no rich uncle. There's no benevolent donor. I'm going to crowdsource this mine with some friends and family, and that's it. Because if we're that serious about having honest money, then it needs to be owned by individuals. Money needs to be owned by the people that produce it. If we're working together to build the mine to produce the currency, we can own it ourselves. Well, how big does it need to be? It needs to be big. If we want the crypto bros and the rest of the world to respect us, it needs to be sizable. If we need it to run mission critical applications like community currencies all over the state or the country or the world, it needs to be large and reliable. So let's build it big. Let's go for it. But let's take everything that we know and love about honest money, good money, fair money, and let's build ourselves a digital currency rocket ship to take the core components, these core properties of honest money out to our friends, to our communities, to our state, to our country. Texit Coin is good crypto. The future of money is digital. Cryptocurrency is good, honest money. Texit Coin is good crypto. What I want to encourage our community, and Jason, thanks for sharing your time with us tonight. We're about out of time here. Gaige, I don't jump in if you got anything else to throw into the hat here. But what I want you to understand is that the way that we should be inviting people to join us for our journey isn't with Texit Coin. It's not with a pump. It's not about the price. It's not about the commissions that you can earn through the referral program. It's about the idea that the world needs honest money. Texit Coin is good, honest money. Texit Coin is good crypto. There are good cryptos and there's bad cryptos. What's the difference? You got to do your own research to figure out exactly what makes good crypto and bad crypto. I would like you to do your research. When I'm out there talking to people, I'm not wearing a Texit Coin shirt. I pull up in the car, they go, "What do you do, bro?" Crypto. Yeah, but like which one? Can you do it for me? No. I need you to do your research, and what you'll find is that Texit Coin is good crypto. Limited supply, funded by individuals, proof of work, done in Texas, community currency driven. The whole purpose of this project is for us to get back to what I was good at years ago, which is community currencies. It's a currency first crypto that's built in Texas for the people of Texas, for our friends in America, to be used and traded around the world.
And you've built in low transaction fees from point number one of that article, far better than the Bitcoin bros did. Very well done there, Bobby.
Well, that's an important thing as well. People say like, well, why Texas? Why do you need to control it? Because Bitcoin was really cheap to use back when it was $1 a coin. I just sent 10,000 McKinney downtown digital dollars today from one wallet to another. My transaction fee to do that was 300 thousandths of a penny. That's how much it costs to send 10,000. Okay, it's pretty cheap. But what happens if Texit Coin ends up being worth $100,000 a coin? Well, you got to take that number. You got to multiply it by 100,000. And all of a sudden now it's $1. $1 for a transaction fee still isn't that bad. But if we control it, we could just change it. We could change the transaction fee. We could make it 100,000th of a penny again. We're not here to get rich off of transaction fees. We're here to get rich off of honest money, because honest money improves value for everyone. If there's an arbitrary third party that can inflate the currency and drive the prices up, they're stealing from every single one of us. If our money is honest and accountable, that stops. It doesn't mean you get free money. It means you still got to work for it the same as everybody else does. But at least it means that the guy that's controlling the money printer isn't making your cost of living higher without any fundamental change to your effort. That's what honest money is. That's what it does for you. And again, as money becomes more digital, it becomes easier for them to manipulate until crypto showed up. Crypto brought all those properties of honest money, gold and silver, which are great, but incredibly inconvenient. And it brought it into a tool and a system that you and I have access to in the palm of our hand. Almost every one of us these days has one of these things. If you've got one of these, you can participate in a decentralized digital peer-to-peer currency. You can do Bitcoin, you can do Ethereum, you can do Litecoin, you can do USDC or USDT. There are hundreds of them out there. Many of them are good. We'd like you to do your research. We'd like you to conclude that the things that we know and love and care deeply for, the properties of good, honest money, that's what we've built into Texit Coin. And we invite you to join us on the journey. Texit Coin didn't pay off the credit card debt. Texit Coin didn't put the new car in the driveway. Texit Coin didn't get the addition going on your house. Honest money did. That's the introduction. That's the hook that I would like you to consider. That's why I asked Gaige if I could jump on and hijack his call tonight. Try setting a hook this week with honest money. And then as people come and are curious, what do you mean honest money? Well, there's these boys out there that actually seem to care about honest money. And they've looked at the history of money and how it's become more dishonest over time. And cryptocurrency showed up and actually gave us a real shot for the first time at putting the issuance and control of money back in the hands of the people where it belongs. There's a lot of cryptos out there. Some of them are downright scams. There's a lot of things you can do with blockchain technology, but the guys that care about honest money discovered cryptocurrency and built Texit Coin. It's like a Bitcoin time machine. It's like going back to the beginning of the crypto days when it was all about the mission of digital, decentralized peer-to-peer currency, not about the get-rich-quicks and the pumps and dumps and the influencers, but about a peer-to-peer currency that puts control of money back in our hands. Good, honest money is what got us to where we are today, and it's what's going to continue to fuel our rocket through the good times and the tough ones. We cannot lose because we care deeply about honest money, and with honest money, everybody wins. Yeah, if we had a meme coin or some NFT, we'd have to pump it, and then it would do its thing, and then it's gone. But because we've got good, honest money, we've got something that's built to last. That's what we have with Texit Coin. I want you to consider trying that. Gaige, any spin on that or any particular way that you think that it would be best delivered?
Well, I think you had the bullet points. Like I said, the bullet points that you went over. The future of money is digital. Crypto is good, honest money. And Texit Coin is good crypto. That is the outline. That is the foundation that we all need to stick with and the message that we need to deliver to the people out there. And that is what I've seen that I've been doing that. I just didn't ever write it down or know that I was doing it like that. But the introduction of, this is a Bitcoin time machine. We're going back and picking up where Bitcoin left off. That's been very successful for me. And I know a lot of other people that have been using that same hook, that same pitch, and that same direction of presenting this. And I think that is what everybody needs to use. That's the best.
I like it too because it opens the door with the crypto community. You're going to find about half the community doesn't care whatsoever about crypto as money. What? You're going to spend crypto? Why would you do that? Crypto is just digital gold, man. We're investing. The other half of the crypto community is looking back and they're saying, yeah, we started this thing because we wanted to get away from the banks. We wanted to put money back in people's hands. And so this is a conversation that will begin to soften the hearts and the minds of the crypto bros that are very distrustful, very skeptical of anything that comes along in crypto. And rightfully so. They've seen it all, and a lot of it's been very bad. But this is an exception. And we want their respect. We want their analysis. Well, where's your white paper? What are your tokenomics?
It also hits on a third group that I always like to throw in there as well. You have the non-crypto people, you have the Bitcoin bros, and then you have the people that's dipped their toe in the crypto and bought some coins, done something, but never really understood crypto. And this message hits home to all three of those categories
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, we
And
got to
so
learn about it now. If we don't learn about crypto, we'll get dragged into the digital money future and we won't have any choice. Look, they almost hit us with a CBDC. Enough people understood what a CBDC was, where they said, no, 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 we don't want the government in control of the digital currency. Bad idea. We want to be able to use this stuff still in the dark back alley if we need to. So education is a core component of our system. We believe that if we teach you about good, honest money, we believe if we teach you that crypto is good, honest money, then you will come to the conclusion that Texit Coin is good crypto. And if we can win you over to that way of thinking, pick up a handful of TXC. If you could go back in time and buy $5 or $10 of Bitcoin back when it was $2, you'd be really happy with that today. Or see what we're doing, help us connect the dots between the size of our mine and the value of our coin. Help us grow and get to our goal. Be a miner. Be one of the persons that gets the daily reward that comes out of the mine. Help us grow and reach our goal, or pick up a handful of TXC. You're supporting our project either way. There's a lot more coming that we will get into the rest of this week as we continue on with our week 93 marathon. We got a lot to go over, guys. We've got a lot of time to do it. Let's use that time to our advantage and crush it this week as we kick off 2026. Jason, Gaige, anything else to add before we call it a night?
nope, that was great. You got a few questions to answer though.
All right, let's take a look at the questions. Here we go. We're doing questions till 7:15. I've got a splitting headache. I don't know if you guys have seen it here. My head is thumping. Big Mike says, yesterday in the Zoom call, Bobby mentioned today would be a soft launch of the Downtown Digital Dollars. Is there any update? No, not yet, Big Mike. We'll have more information for you in the next day or two. Swappy. So with all of that outstanding information, truly, how do we tighten this up into the pitch potential future miners? The 1, 2, 3, Swappy. Use it, abuse it, love it, try it.
And we'll be going over that week after week after week on this Monday night call as well. We'll be digging in and getting more in depth with each one of these bullet points week after week. So keep tuning in, Swappy.
Jeff says, I followed the step-by-step process to link my cold storage coin. Jeff, you probably did it wrong. No offense. Check the help desk on exactly how to do it. Probably the biggest thing that you're doing is you're scanning and getting the picture, or sorry, the QR code on the package and not the QR code on the coin. Put your finger over that QR code on the package when you scan that, and hopefully that'll do it for you. Ryan says, can we Texit Coin set up workshops to physically help us move out coins from cold storage to hot wallets, take some coins from sites, approve for our buying Texit Coin, convert yeah, people do that all the time. Mark says, please post the name of the article you're referring to that Jason Hommel wrote. It is called The 4 Fundamentals of the Silver Price, and I will link it right here. Tried to answer it and it went away. Type answer. Where did it go? Dismissed. I don't know. I'll put it into our team chat for us here. So you've got it. Marketing, promotion, video, and resources. Here it comes. Okay, it's in our Telegram group. Okay. Oh, there you go. There it is. So is Texit Coin the next Bitcoin? Should we be pitching Texit Coin as the next big Bitcoin? Look, you got to remember that everyone loves options. We're not here to kill, destroy. We're not here to kill the banks. We're not here to kill Bitcoin. We're here to give people another option, an alternative, a complementary opportunity for them to continue to diversify their portfolio. The reason that people are so excited about crypto is because it's a financial technology that most people still don't understand. And when you have a technology that the world hasn't adopted yet, there's an upside that's related to that adoption cycle. So if you get in on something early, it's risky and people are going to make fun of you. But if you get in on a technology that's still on its way up, that's where that opportunity comes from. We're shooting for top 10. I don't know if TEXITcoin is going to be number one. I'm not shooting for like just the top 100. I think that we're a top 10 crypto. Once the world understands that we're serious, I think we'll get all the way up to the very top of the charts. Number two sounds good. I'm okay with number two. You know, if we're number two at $100 billion or $200 billion value, Bitcoin's still 10, 20 times larger than we are. List of business who accept Texit Coin. No, we don't maintain that list yet, but we will publish the downtown digital list soon. Tanner says, is it possible to update the advertisements on the radio to be more, where did you go? To be more about the good, honest aspects of crypto and Texit in general. Based on what I've read online, the current advertising messaging is falling stale. Yeah, you're probably right. We got to reach out to Kristen and tell her to start updating that stuff. 50% DMSO for migraines and headaches. I don't know what that is, but I've got some perfectly good Excedrin right here, and here we go. Okay, what other questions we have? Anything else in there?
That's it. You got it. That's a wrap.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Tomorrow night, we're going to dive more. Hold on. Got it. Tomorrow night, we're going to dive more into the mine. We had a great meeting today about all the things that are happening in the world of our mine. Remember that the mine matters. Without a big, robust, powerful, dependable network, we can't roll out these mission critical applications. Imagine if we had tens of millions of dollars in downtown McKinney circulating and the network goes down. Not acceptable. With decentralized mining, we've got a lot of diversification that happens as the mine gets bigger. So that's what we're working on, and we'll have more about that tomorrow night on our call. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Really appreciate you tuning in. We got a lot of great information. We're excited to share it, and we'll catch you guys again same time tomorrow night.